Hey, it's Sammy, host of the I Do Music podcast, and I want to introduce you to our new series we'll broadcast time to time between our weekly show, created to peek in the mind of the engineers of Patchwerk Recording Studios, called The Engineer's Corner. These conversations discussing pop culture, technology, and sound from an engineer's perspective, all hosted and moderated by audio engineer Luke.
Hi, I'm Corey Anders. Okay.
So as you just heard, Corey Anders is in the building. We're also joined with Vernon Manuel, Luther Banks, Kenny Mix. I'm Luke, and this is the second installment of the Engineer's Corner, where we just talk about everything music engineering, mixing music, pop culture, just anything cool. DirecTV Go. We got a little school from Corey on that. But where I want to kind of get started is kind of what the guys are listening to now. Because when you're working on music is, we're always working for the thing, that well, what's not out now, but what's coming, next. But using what's now to kind of base our decisions that we make for what is to come next. So I think it's important to listen to records that we listen to now, and also records that have come out in the past, that make these decisions for us. So I'm actually curious, this week or the last 2 weeks, what has everyone been listening to in your car or at home or anything? Luther, do you want to, kick it off?
Oh, I just listen to everything I can get my hands on, because I'm basically, one of the things that I record here is a workout from one of the clients. They have an app, so they use Spotify in order to create their playlist. So I get a lot of the music that I listen to from them, because they're trying to keep their playlist fresh, so the newer music is on there. So I just listen to anything that they're playing. I listen to that, put that in my playlist, and use it for my workouts to kind of get an idea of where things are right now.
Luther might be the most up-to-date then. Corey, what are you listening to?
I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, I still reference classics like Chronic 2001 for as far as, if I'm in a different room that I'm not used to. But on the regular, I find myself listening to a lot of the new stuff that comes out, especially like it depends on really what kind of music, what kind of records I'm working on, because I've gotten to the point where it's just like everyone has their individual sound, but then there's also a style that is the in style right now. Certain, like I think it's phasing out now, but like the whole distorted 808 thing and that type thing. So I always try to listen to like, the current stuff that's out that people are like gravitating to, so that I can incorporate that in my mixes. So I mean, anywhere from the Migos to Yachty's and all that, but then also reaching like I listened. I think Big Boy's new album sounds incredible.
Really?
Yeah. So
who worked? Do you know who worked on it?
I didn't, because that's the thing with these days. Because
we'll get into it. We'll get into it. All right, I'm gonna add it to my notes.
Yeah.
What are you listening to for pleasure though? Just like when you're chilling at home.
When I'm chilling at home, that's a good question. A lot of times, believe it or not, I listen to a lot of classical music. So
that brings back a memory of us playing pool upstairs, listening to classical music.
Yeah.
I was not there. That sounds very interesting.
No, that's when we were playing the chess. I think you were up there, weren't you?
Oh, chess. Oh, yeah.
Kenny, what are you listening to, man?
Well, I guess recently. Well, matter of fact, let me just back up. So I did a song last night. I just finished, and I was like, "Damn it, this song sounds good." You know what I mean? But it's from an artist, Ava Will. So listen to that. That's what I was riding to when I was coming here this morning, type of deal. But other than just like listening to stuff, I guess I want to kind of say, I think music is coming back to sounding big and full again. It's slowly getting back. And I want to say it may even be because they put out like the New Edition movies and stuff like that. But I'm starting to get a lot of R&B and nice songs like that. Hold on. Sorry, guys. But casual time at home, I've been listening to R. Kelly, Bump and Grind CD. I thought that one's, I love that album. It sonically sounds good. So that's what I've been listening to lately.
Yeah, that's like part of like the epitome of like the recording industry, like that era of time.
Mm-hmm.
Vern, what you been listening to, man?
My pleasure time? Well, I got to start off by saying I'm not from here, so...
During Vern's pleasure time, he listens to...
Pleasure.
My downtime. My downtime. Let me rephrase.
Are we talking pleasure by yourself? Hey. Hey, certain things I don't need to know.
Nah, and actually, since it's funny because like the music is kind of getting a lot of influence from there. So actually, reggae I listen to a lot of right now, and then I still listen to like dancehall and soca. I don't know if much you know about soca.
I know soca, man. It's so cool.
But nah, definitely like dancehall because like what I'm finding, there's like certain effects and certain tricks that they do with certain things that I kind of like. So I'm kind of like listening to that to kind of incorporate it into like today's shit to try to do something different.
Nah, that's dope.
Nice.
And that kind of brings me around, like, so that's just like a kind of general like thing, but kind of, you know, more into what Corey said, nailing down into like reference mixing. Like if anyone wants to pick up, like, what is a reference mix? What do you use a reference mix for? And what are some of your reference mixes that you use when you're traveling to different rooms or you get a new song? You know, what are some of the things that you look for? Doesn't matter.
Like for me, I'm just going for something that I've listened to often.
So what is a reference mix? Like,
so it's a song that I know, right? It's something that I know inside and out, that I've listened to enough times, especially in these rooms where I know where the low end is supposed to be, where the vocal is supposed to sit. I can sit and make sure that the monitors themselves or either my balance is right. But just something that I know, sonically know, basically. Yep.
And just to kind of piggyback, you know, for people that are listening, is what Luther's kind of getting at is like, especially for guys that, you know, are working in like less perfect rooms, whether you're working at home or you're working in a closet or you go to a new studio and it's not like built out, is he's using these mixes to listen to songs that he's extremely familiar with so that when he travels to a new room or has a new pair of headphones or he's listening to something in the car, he knows how well that song sounds, that when he's working on something new, he knows where things need to kind of sit. Corey was referencing, was it the 2001? Yeah. You want to speak on that? What are you listening for in that record that makes it a reference for you?
I mean, granted that I work on a lot of hip hop records, a lot of, you know, and hip hop is very drum driven. And for the longest, Dre has always had that sound to where engineers and producers in this genre look to that as like the standard for the way drums are supposed to knock on these records. And so, you know, in dissecting that album and just listening, using it as a reference, it's helping me to be able to say, okay, like these drums need to sit here, the bass needs to sit there, but the crispness and the clarity of the high end and the mids and all that, it's an overall balance thing. So, you know, for me, like piggybacking on what Luther said, you know, it allows me to go anywhere and listen and put that in as like my standard and then measure up whatever I'm working on to make sure that it's comparable to that so that you get that consistent sound.
I have an interesting question. Have you ever taken it, whether you're working out of an apartment or just some weird thing, you're flying, like I've seen people mixing songs on flights, where like you plug in your reference and you're like, oh my God, this sounds insane. And you have to make your mix sound kind of insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like working backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I've done stuff. This is the crazy thing. So, you know, I've literally taken my laptop and sat in my car and then plugged in the aux in the car and pulled up Pro Tools.
That's actually a good idea.
And sat there and tweaked sitting in my car just on some I'll A/B mixes, and I'll be like, there's something with this low end that I can't hear. I'll go to the car and I'll hear exactly what I need to hear and tweak it on the spot.
That's dope. Vern, anything with reference mixing that you're using or doing? Pretty much what they're doing.
Yeah, it's all the same thing. Like nothing new.
But honestly, I do want to check out some of these like reggae effects you're talking about. If you don't mind sharing secrets, you don't have to share it right now. But I want to check them out in our own time. But Kenny, you know, mastering is a little bit different. You're kind of limited in like the creative decision making that you can make. But do you still use references for mastering? Like, what does that play a role in what you do, or is it kind of not really like have any weight?
Sometimes. Mostly what I'm looking for or listening for anyway would be to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Like in other words, believe it or not, a perfect mix actually sounds a touch dull. And that's because like it doesn't have too much bass. The mids are nice and smooth. The highs aren't, throwing razor blades at you. So that's what I kind of look for. Is it nice? Is it smooth? I listen for stage depth, like front to back. I listen to the size. You know what I mean? How wide is it? But how wide is that? And how it relates to the center channel. Because if you lose the center channel, you lose the whole song. So that's kind of what I kind of listen for on a day to day. Then a lot of times I look at my meters, so I can reference it. And I can actually visually see what I'm hearing as a second check. I listen for vocals because the vocal is the star of the show.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll get a song and I'll notice that if a producer mixed a song, it'll be music driven. And like typically just from human nature, let's say I'm producing a song and I go, yeah, this is the sound I want to lead this record. I'm going to take this sound and push it up, make it louder and say, yeah, that's driving my song. But when the vocalist gets on there, there's no space for the vocal. And then vice versa, so then I notice when the artist is always involved, and he or she is doing her vocals, then I get a mix back where the vocals are too loud, and then the music is dropped in the background. So I listen out for those type of deals. I listen for that. I can spot MP3 like that. Just on my system, like my system and mastering is wired totally different from mixing. So it's like almost like a music microscope. So I can hear more in my mastering room than you can hear out of like big mixing rooms. So on my end, when I hit play on the MP3, it sounds like a whooshing sound, like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 through the whole song.
Like the old LimeWire shit.
Yeah, you know that sound. So when I'm mastering, you have to remember, if you don't really hear it on your speakers, in your home system or whatever, that doesn't mean it's not there. Because what happens, I'm bringing up detail. So when I start mastering, I'm actually pulling on wiggle, 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 wiggle. And it sounds crazy as shit.
It is crazy. I mean, we've all gone down in Kenny's room and listened to it, and it does sound pretty crazy.
Yeah. So it's just, some things like that I listen for.
One thing you mentioned when we were talking about, what we were listening to, how much does the car, you're listening to that song you just finished, how much does the car play a role in what you do on the mastering side? Because I never thought that you would have taken it and rode around to it in your car. I would be like, oh, you have your room. But does your car have weight in the decisions that you make mastering?
Sort of. Well, yeah, because it's sort of a cheat because in my car, I've got this nice elaborate system I put in there, you know what I mean, all this stuff. And it was always irritating to me to come from a mastering setup and then go back into my car.
Right.
Because I would go, damn it, I don't hear the mids, I don't hear the highs, I don't hear the, you know what I mean, that type of weird stuff. So I got the car system tuned.
No way, cool.
Yeah.
Kenny would.
But yeah, so just on my end, I know how things are supposed to sound in my car. But also, you got to remember too, especially all the new cars coming out, all these systems that are in these cars are tuned. And throughout history, if you think about it, whether you're from New York, from down south, wherever you're from, throughout history, we don't know all of each other, but everybody goes to their car to reference their songs, whether it's after recording, mixing, or mastering. And that's because the cars are tuned. And typically, a car is tuned better than your home system. And in a typical home system, you just throw your speakers up there, the pads, maybe wherever, and you put them in the room. I talk to a lot of my guys, and I go, you have any bass traps? Nah, but I do have pads on the walls. And I go, well, did you know each corner of your room spills out an extra 24 dB of bass that's not in your mix? 24, 24, 24, 24, and in the corners, you know what I mean? That's a lot of damn bass. And then what happens, a lot of it cancels out. But a car doesn't do that. And most people go, well, damn, I'm in a car in this little bitty-ass cabinet, but a car is made out of thin metal, and the bass dissipates out of the metal.
Yeah, out of the car.
Right.
That's a good point.
And go, another good tidbit. So let's say we all got our home studio. A lot of guys say, well, I'm going to build out my home studio, and I'm going to make the walls this thick like a commercial studio. Our walls are thick because we have to isolate from all of us working, right? But believe it or not, you can tune out a home studio better without the thick walls because the bass dissipates through the sheetrock, just like a car.
This actually reminds me, when I first started getting into engineering, I contacted this guy in New York, and kind of mentored me, and his name is Steve Greenwell, and he had the best sounding room I had ever heard. And it was on like the 17th floor of this like super tall building, and it had glass windows that went around all the way around the whole studio. And after like going through audio programs, it kind of makes sense now that the sound would just, he's hearing what comes off here, and then it just goes right out the windows. You know, it was also really cool because you could pop out the window, step out, like smoke hookah, and then come back.
That was cool.
It was also really cool with that room, and that's probably why you can just everything kind of dissipates.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So it's just kind of like a look into like more of like the workflow of what some of the things we have to do when songs get sent to mixing is, and when you want your record to sound like something, or you want your record to not sound like something. I've had people be like, I don't want it to sound like this. I want it to sound like this. But more like, let's get more like to more of like a general thing. I was actually thinking about this the other day when we were thinking about, things to talk about today is not, why do you love engineering, but why do you think you're good at engineering? And I started thinking about it like myself. Like, I think I'm good at engineering because I think I like suffer from like anxiety and OCD. That's real. Like seriously, right? Like I have such anxiety and OCD where like, if it's not right, like, and that's why I think I'm okay at it. But why do you guys think you're good at this? Do you think you're good? And what are those reasons? Whoever wants to take it.
I think just because I'm kind of crazy about the way I do things. Not crazy. I'm very like things have to be
You're
lined
calculated.
up. Yeah, I'm very calculated. Yeah. I'm constantly trying to learn new things. You know what I mean? If there's an issue, then I have to solve that issue now. You know what I mean? Looking it up on the internet, finding a book about it, asking one of you guys about it. But I'm just very, I don't know. It's just one of those things.
It's something weird to think about. It's something weird. Why? Like, it's weird because like this is what you do for your life and you're good at it. But why are you good at it? What is the driving force? It could be just the passion for music.
I think that's
but there's plenty of passionate people out there about music who aren't good or professionals.
But that's the thing, though. Like you have to be passionate about music, but also passionate about the creation of the music, and then the text of that, which is what we're doing here. So you have to be passionate about all of it. Because if you just want to make beats, then that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to sit down with artist X and be able to give them a great recording or record them the way that they need to be recorded, or be able to sit down in front of a artist and not get kicked out of the room because it took you too long to do this edit or do this punch. You know what I mean? You got to, what Leslie used to say, you got that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't really define it.
Right. I mean, it comes down to like obviously having a passion for it, and just like Luther said, it's one of those things where, the reason why I think I'm a good engineer is because I'm always willing to learn from anybody, and I'm always curious and always pushing the envelope. I can learn from the intern that just graduated from school. I can learn from my niece that knows nothing about audio. And apply that to what we do, and you're always just dissecting things. I think an engineer's mind is just always, you might hear something like Vern was talking about with the reggae stuff and hear a cool effect and be like, how did they get that? Let me figure that out. And you'll sit there tirelessly trying to figure it out and enjoy it. It's not like it's a job. It's not like it's work. It just comes natural, like you know what I'm saying. And I think that's what makes me a good engineer, is just that constant drive to learn, and then also just constantly being aware of, okay, like I look at it like my biggest thing, bigger than any money or anything, is my reputation. So anything that I work on, I'm gonna put my foot into it and to make sure, because I don't want someone to come back and be like, Corey just doesn't have that. That's the worst thing that an engineer could go through, is just like have a bad mix or this and that, and I think that's what all keeps us all going, keeps us all sharp.
Heartbreaking.
Why do you think you're good? What are some why is Vern?
I mean,
dope?
to be honest, like I think one of those things, like you said, actually, like the anxiety. Like I've definitely worked with artists, and they're like, yeah, it sounds good, and in my mind, I'm like, no, it fucking doesn't. I have to tweak this shit, fuck that. Like so, like between that and then when I have major artists who's like, man, yeah, you're free next week, like that is also like a big.
It's like a fulfillment, like it's self-fulfilling.
You're on the right
I
path.
did something right.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is so like it's not fun, but I like know when I'm having like an anxiety attack, and I can realize it, and I almost kind of like go into it a little more and like see how crazy I can get. Like I'll be like pacing around my room, like in circles, like listening to like the song while it bounces down.
Yeah, and I think that's normal. Or you
It's
might like I always do the thing. I'll turn around and not look at the screen, but be listening.
Yeah.
Or trying to do
That
something
helps.
to distract myself.
Yes.
So
The number one thing I do is when it's bouncing down or I'm listening to, I'll go sit on the couch and like watch the TV or like start doing the dishes or something.
Yeah, I actually lay down on the couch.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
and it's crazy the stuff you'll hear when you don't hear it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Master, why do you think what makes you a great mastering engineer? Like your personal attributes.
Huh.
And why mastering and why not mixing? Like why?
Kenny mix.
Yeah.
I think it boils down to I enjoyed the science of it so much. Like all into like how we hear sound and just stuff like that. And like even on my downtime, I'm a designer.
Right.
I'm always inventing something or designing something. You know what I mean? But I think I have the same disease as these guys have, because I was always a guy that was people saying, "Man, this is great," and I go, "No, the fuck it's not." You know what I mean? So I kept doing that, but it was just a reality check one day to my own self, because I didn't even know. So long story short, I'm listening to all these top songs, that's out or whatever, and I hit play on one of mine. It was just happened to be in this playlist, and I didn't know. And mine came on, it was just big as shit, and labels kept saying, "Yeah, Kenny, you guys have this fall out of the speaker sound." And I think just kind of started from there. So, but from that, I think I'm like how Vern is. I just kept pushing, and just people around me would say, "Hey, dude, this is phenomenal." And I go, "Not yet." You know what I mean? It's not there yet. That type of deal. So I think we all beat ourselves up like that all the time.
Every engineer you meet or mixer beats themselves up.
Because I was gonna say there's been plenty of times where Corey will mix something, Luther will mix something. We get it, we master it. We'll all listen to it and go, "Yeah, that sounds good, but let's change it anyway. It can get better." Yeah. So I've been just myself. I'm just mastering somebody's song, and sometimes I've been known to master one song I know like 4 times.
Right.
Just for my own damn, like you said, OCD.
Oh, yeah.
And just to sit back and go, now which one of these do I like?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes, you can work on something and we used to call it, sometimes you can mix the mix out of the mix.
Yes.
Yep.
So I can do the same thing in mastering. I can master the
Unmaster and
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that sometimes, a lot of times, your best mixes or best masters are usually the first one.
The first one.
Mm-hmm.
Because have you guys been through that? Where you do something, go, "Oh, I can change, I can make it better. Then you A/B what you had the first time, go, "Holy shit, did I save?"
Yeah, that's that crazy. You
Hey.
mad as hell, like, damn, I should have saved.
I save incrementally. So every hour on the hour, I do a save as 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
That's actually really genius. I actually
Yeah.
have this funny story where I was with some friends of mine and I was working on their project and we were all like sitting around playing this weird like Filipino drinking game. It was,
Need Luke's life.
I have this really bizarre life. And we got so messed up and in my head I was like, "Oh my God, I have this great idea for you guys' song. I'm gonna go home and work on it." So get home and start working on it. Don't even like finish, don't bounce anything down because I'm like I end up passing out like on like the computer chair. Wake up the next morning and it was destroyed. Destroyed. I was like, oh, I should have saved it. And I wish I could play it because it's so funny. Like, but at the time when I was working on it, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so good." It was bizarre. Oh my God. That's cool. I'm glad I asked that question because I didn't know what type of response I would get. Because I'm thinking about like, why are you good at something? Like, or why is someone that works on cars good at what they do? Like, obviously you love cars, but getting into the why you are good about this thing that you're passionate about is really cool. Another thing I was thinking about, I don't know why this popped into my head based on what we were talking about, but is it possible for you guys, like when you're listening, to separate your production ears from your just normal listening ears?
No.
Or are you always analyzing? Or are you always like, oh my God, or it's like, oh man, I really like this song. This makes me feel good.
During my workouts, I am,
You
because
can
I'm
separate.
concentrating on something else.
Right.
But any other time, like I don't ride in my car with the radio on because I just can't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to the point where, like, I can enjoy music now. The funny thing is, I've gotten to the point where I don't necessarily listen to stuff technically when I'm listening for pleasure. It's only like I'll be listening for pleasure, and then something might jump out at me, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, damn, why did he do
What
that?
is
in this?
that?
Who let this? Who, you know what I'm saying? And you start, or you be like, dang, how did he do that? And then my mind starts going into the whole technical, and it kind of takes me away from the pleasure of it. But I would say it's a good balance.
That's cool. Vern, you have trouble splitting it up?
Not really. That's probably another reason why I listen to the music that I listen to as well. Like I don't get to work on reggae and
Right.
so
Yeah.
like I get to that's completely just downtime music. I'm not gonna say pleasure again.
Yeah.
Which would be some interesting pleasure time listening to that. Could be some interesting stuff.
But yeah, it's sometimes it's kind of like you get into the technical side, especially like if you listen back to your own stuff. I know a lot of mixing engineers who say they don't listen back to their mixes because they keep fuck, I could have did this or I could have did
That's
that.
a good point.
So like it's weird. Like yeah, I guess
I mean, I'm with you on that though. Like I listen to a lot of pop and R&B and other stuff other than what I'm actually working on here, and that kind of allows me to, because I don't, you're not really working on that genre 100% of the time, so you're able to kind of relax into it.
Yeah.
Kenny cannot split his ears. I'm curious about this. Dude, like when you're at home playing video games, like are you like, oh my God, what is wrong with this sound score?
Gunshot could have been
Nah, believe it or not, I'm the guy that damn near the neighbors call and say, hey, you need to turn that shit down.
Really? Neighbors call you and tell you to turn it down?
What?
Dude.
Kenny?
What?
Volume
Man,
loud. What?
I'm a gamer.
Oh, so you get in the zone. Do you have a gaming chair, dude?
Nah, I need one.
That would be sick.
But, it's not that loud for real. But, we do tear up the house with some Call of Duty or Battlefield or some Destiny or whatever. But I guess on my pleasure time, I'll listen to. I can listen to songs and disconnect from it. But it has to be a different genre from what I'm working on.
Exactly.
Because I've always had this thing to where sometimes when I'm talking to people, they'll say, yeah, but so and so song is out, and it technically doesn't have to sound good, but XYZ artist is popular. So it's a difference between a popular song that's making it out and one that sounds good that's making it out.
Right.
But a lot of times some people can't put that together. So like just recently we were listening to a lot of songs that's out now, there's big records. And I had a room full of engineers and we all like, ooh. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can disconnect from it sometimes.
Not to like change gears like super left, but do you feel like that's the case just because of how music is made today? Like through the processes, through the production, recording, like is it it's not necessarily the people, but it's the process and the times. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's the process because like everything is kind of evolving. Because you can still stay analog, sound good. You can stay digital, sound good. It's just a matter of who is pushing faders and turning knobs. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I kind of want to and maybe we can do. Actually, this would be a cool episode where we load up a bunch of songs, say from 1990, and go grab a playlist of 20 songs and kind of dissect
Do it
them
by the decades.
Yeah, by every 5 years, see
right.
what, and I think we'd be surprised what we hear or how similar things are within that range.
I've done
And
that.
also see things how change, things that are coming out now, and be like, oh my God, they were doing that in that song in '92.
Right.
You know, I think maybe we could do an episode like that, which would be really cool.
You know what? Hitting on that, I did something that was similar to that or whatever. So so just tracking, you know, I guess the years of doing what we all do, I have noticed that even though we have a lot of, you know, nice plugins out or whatever, there are a lot of things that are out now. No, I'm sorry. There was a lot of things that was out in the past that's not here anymore. You know, sometimes we'll listen to mixes. Like I was listening to a R. Kelly song one day, and but if I was sitting there, you know, at my speakers, just say my speakers were in the front of me, right? So my speakers in front of me, just say they're like about here, and I play this particular song, the sounds actually come out from back here, up in the top of my ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys heard that record he's talking about? It's the Thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard that? It is
Yep.
bizarre. It does sound like it's coming from behind you.
Right.
It's
And
insane.
and that's stuff that we used to do, you know, all the time. That was like standard protocol. You know what I mean? You listen to the Eagles or you listen to like Michael Jackson,
Love the
2,000 watts.
Eagles.
If you listen to Michael Jackson, 2,000 watts, I think Teddy Riley produced that one. And you know, I mean, I know how he do it. You know how he does all that stuff. But anyway, when he's saying 2,000 watts, he's actually outside of the speakers. He's not in the stereo field. He's like way out to the sides. So there's a lot of things that are missing from music now that I wish would. It'll probably end up coming back. You know what I mean? Hopefully.
I think it'd be a cool episode to dissect some of these songs, whether they're like favorite songs of ours and all that stuff. That'd be cool. And speaking on the whole like turn it down Kenny video games, it kind of made me think like, what are some things that people don't know about engineering, or even like other engineers don't know, like guys that are like want to get into it or kids that are in school? What's something that they don't know that, you know, they'll find out one day? You know, you have something, Vern?
My bad. This can kind of fall into the thing, but I won't go back to what Kenny was
that's fine.
saying,
Yeah,
like
go
how
ahead.
he was talking about like how things were back in the day. And I feel like a lot of engineers now, like, they don't learn from anybody. Like, they jump straight out of school and just try to teach themselves. Like, a lot of us in here, we came up under somebody. So, like, a lot of the stuff that they did do, we got that knowledge from somebody else who was doing it during that time. But, like, going back to what you just asked, though, what they don't know is the process. Like, I've literally had conversations with people who don't know anything about, like, inside the music realm, and they just think, like, artists just go in the booth and just everything just sounds like magic when they walk out. Like, it's like, I'm like, I've literally had somebody who was like, oh, I thought you were an engineer? I thought all you did was turn the volume knob up. I was like, what the that's this. I was pissed. Like, it's just people who just really just don't know, like, the ins and outs of creating a song.
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot of it has to do with TV as well.
TV.
Yeah, because I was talking to a lot of like, you know, top TV producers of, you know, like a lot of these shows that are out, and I was like, why is it that you guys keep portraying the music industry as just going in the vocal booth and then going to the stage?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then even when they do the in studio shots, it's only of the producer. You know, you like,
right.
Like it's no engineer existing or something.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, big ups to the engineers. Yeah, I mean, because like there's a lot of stuff that because of I guess like the media, like how Vern is just saying. Of course, like all of us are equal. You gotta love your producers. We don't have the producers. We don't have no damn songs to work on. We don't have an artist. Don't have anything to produce the songs to. We don't have a mix engineer or recording engineers, mastering. It all goes together. But truth be told, there are hundreds of records out there that are done by big producers, and when they walk out of these rooms, us engineers are replacing sounds, replaying sounds. I've been in sessions with big artists, and I remember, no names, but she left out, and when she left, we got on the phone. Can you come by here and do these ad-libs? You know? So sometimes it's been known we have to get somebody else in to do these overdubs, ad-libs, and blend stuff in, snatch kick drums out. There's flat top. These guys can tell you.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell that to like my family members sometimes, like, oh my God, I didn't know like that was part of the thing. And that's kind of like where we're kind of getting at. Is there anything else that like people just like regular people that they have just no idea about? That's a good one.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Well, I guess it gets kind of touchy. Well, let me say, if I just go back to this console, analog console, nowadays, that's considered a dinosaur who use a console. Well, everybody does. It's outside of urban. But like sometimes, like you may be looking at I don't know, your favorite plugins, whatever it is, right? But that console goes out past 500K, easy. And in other words, what you're looking for or looking at when we're doing all these your songs, you're actually looking for, it's gonna sound crazy, but you're looking for your power supply and headroom. So the reason why some of that older stuff sounds good is because it has the headroom. And then that's why you get into stuff like these what you call, like these summon boxes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And everybody go, holy shit, summon box is the shit. Well, really it's because the summon box is set up like a mastering piece. It has the headroom, and that's where you can kind of really get that big sound. I don't know where I was going with that.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I was paying attention. I was looking at
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Analog sounds good.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
But digital sounds good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've heard, of course, we all do it. Neither one is better than the other one. Put it that way.
Oh no,
They both have they both have their strengths. They have their minuses on both sides. But when you can merge them together, that's when you got something.
I mean, I think one of the things that's been lost, especially like since I've become in charge of the intern program here, is just patience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've already been recording your homeboy in the bedroom, and now, you're ready to go. But not really. You know what I'm saying? Because he likes you. You know what I'm saying? The guy stepping in the room with you doesn't know you, doesn't really trust you with his music yet, doesn't really, think anything about you other than you're pressing 3 because he doesn't know what we do really. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you're not necessarily ready yet. You know what I mean? You're ready to press 3. You're ready to record your homeboy in the bedroom, but you're not necessarily ready to sit in the room with somebody standing over your shoulder waiting on you to press 3 2 seconds ago.
Who's
You know
paying
what I
for
mean?
time?
Which makes sense.
Exactly.
And I got a point to add to that. Because you were asking the question like what engineers do. We're almost like psychologists in a way, because above them, like one thing about engineering is you can learn all the technical stuff, but if you don't have the people skills to make an artist feel comfortable in the booth, you're not going to pull that performance out of them. And then the flip side of that is when you're going down in flames at the computer, you might have lost a vocal or this and that. How you handle that situation with the artist that's in the booth that just might have given the take of their life, but you lost it, how you handle that is part of engineering too. I mean, there's been times that I've had major artists in the booth and they just got done with the amazing take. This was early on in my career. And they'd be like, oh, play that back. And I'd be sitting there and the shit is gone. And I'd just be like, split section decision. You can get it better, hit the button. Oh, you can get it better, get it one more time. And just keep it moving. They have no idea that you just lost the vocal, because the minute you tell them you lost the vocal, they're in panic mode. They're like, oh, I can't trust this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that is the stuff, but you can't teach that. And that's a lot of what people don't see with engineers is that, we're technically know this stuff, but we also got to stroke egos. We got to know when to how to deal with certain artists, how to deal with certain situations, how to, we're basically the glue that brings everything together.
Yeah, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to save many an intern being put on a session for the first time because they go into panic mode as soon as something doesn't go right.
Right.
And I have to step in the room, massage some egos, make sure that the client still feels secure with dealing with this particular person, because I don't want this person to crash and burn.
No.
I just want to make sure that they understand, look, this is how I'm about to handle the client. Boom, boom, boom. This is what we need to do. Okay, everything's fine. Boom. Hit a button. We're good to go now. I step out of the room. Session continues. He's calm again. Everybody's ready to roll. And they come back for another session. That's the
all
way
good
it should
stuff.
be.
Yeah. That's all good stuff. I didn't think about any of those. Yeah. The patience one was good. My family didn't get the patience thing. Like, oh, why didn't you get a job yet?
Yeah. What you doing? What you're going on? You got a degree and you're going on food runs and you're not being paid for it?
It's insane. Kind of switch up gears. In the last segment, I like to get like a little more technical and round up some edges. The question I had, and I thought this question, I thought about Corey when thinking about this question, is What are the challenges of mixing a song that is programmed versus a song that contains live elements? What challenges do each one?
Well, live. Okay, well, with programmed, it's programmed. So an instrument is gonna be consistent, and when it's programmed, you lose feeling because when someone's playing an instrument live, there's emotion involved. Everything might not be perfect, but you have a feel. And so that's probably the biggest thing versus live versus program is being able to make program stuff still have a feel and still have, because we're all humans. So and it's still, someone creating something. So they might have played something and they just looped it down as opposed to just keeping playing whatever. So that to me is the biggest challenge and the biggest difference is that live has a feel. Now the flip side of it, live is not always perfect. And so sometimes there might be something totally off. So you have to be able to correct it without destroying the feel of it. So that's like the teeter-totter that we.
You guys have anything else to add to that?
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
That's really
what I mean?
the balance of this whole program and live thing.
Right. Yeah. Especially if everybody's playing in the same room, you've got to deal with bleed and all that other stuff, which bleed is not bad in live.
No,
So,
no bleed is not bad. No.
Yeah.
Kenny, you kind of got screwed on that question.
Not necessarily. Like if I'm listening to something that's programmed, like Corey said, there's a difference. It's even a big difference when I'm mastering. So if something is actually live, believe it or not, you have more space. It just sounds bigger, when everything is finished. Typically when something is programmed, it doesn't have that natural space to it. So they tend to sound a little bit smaller. So that'll kind of dictate like how I'm mastering. Because, a real played kick drum can't have the same type of bass as a programmed kick drum. You know what I mean? So that plays a lot into it as well. Like when I mentioned, listening to the Eagles or something like that, now that's live. But when you have something like that that's live, that's also why those mixes can sound so damn huge. Because it's not, you don't have kick drums and heavy 808s and synthesized hi-hats that's taking up so much headroom. You know what I mean? So it's a big difference.
I guess that does play a role in natural ambience versus digital ambience as well. Which is
Right,
really
like Corey
interesting.
said, though, I think people like live better. That's why you get people showing up who sell out arenas for live performances versus going to a club or some weird shit.
It's a feel.
Yeah.
I mean, music is made to be performed, and it's not knocking the majority of the music that we work on, it's all programmed stuff, and there's nothing wrong with it because you can still extract emotion out of that. It's just you got to keep in mind if someone's beating a kick drum live, it's going to be inconsistent dynamically and have a certain feel, and he might have accented on this one, and that might have created some type of emotion that you can't get from just the same kick drum hitting, So it's all those little nuances that make the difference. And at the end of the day, it's, we want to go see a live show. So
That's pretty cool. And the last thing I really want to talk about is, because I was asked this the other day, and I didn't know how to, I was being all boom and gloom, rah, rah, rah. But what is advice that you guys would give to someone that's leaving school right now? Because people just graduated, and that's probably why someone hit me up, is people just graduated schools. They're trying to figure out what to do. What is some good advice that you would give someone, not the regular the regular crap that everyone knows, but what's some really good advice that you would give someone that just finished school, they don't know what to do?
pray.
I got one.
Yeah, I mean, just be
Thanks,
just
Corey.
exactly. Be patient, first of all, and then I guess the most important thing is just being self-aware that you don't know everything, right? That there is a possibility that the teachers in your school didn't teach you anything that you actually really needed to know.
And that's across all things. Even if you're a lawyer,
Exactly.
you don't come out of
You
law
know what I
school
mean?
knowing everything about law.
Yeah,
Right.
you are learning the basics. You are figuring out what a reverb is and the basic structure of it and how to use it. You're learning what a compressor is and the basics of that. But once you get in the room, that's when you actually learn how to shape sound with it, right? How to go out in the world and hear something and then duplicate that or replicate that in the reverb in the room. You know what I mean? Because if I'm recording that drum kit out there, as bad as it sucks, I go out in the room and listen to what the kit sounds like with that particular person playing on it, because he's shifted it to where he needs it to be. He's maybe brought his own sticks, maybe brought his own cymbals. We may have stuck tape on the heads to get rid of that ring. And then I listen to it out in the room. Then I come back in here and see what it sounds like in here, right? So those things you're going to learn over time. But if you're impatient and you're throwing yourself into situations that, you know what I mean, you're not prepared for or whatever, then you're going to slowly get beat down to the point to where you don't want to learn anything else anymore. You're going to find the easiest route to go, you know what I mean, back to your bedroom with your homeboy, and you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. But here, we want everybody to get to a certain point if you're going to be here. So just be patient with it.
That's definitely good. Like being patient, and then another thing is you got to have a certain mentality about it. Like you gotta approach it like you said. You come out of school, yeah, you got the foundation, but you really have to recognize that you really don't know how to be a professional engineer just yet. And when you understand and accept that, that's when you can really learn. Because, like, you know, alluding back to the whole, like, the technical stuff that you can teach, you know, when you're fresh out of school and you think that you know everything, and then you have that client that's breathing down your neck, that's stressing you out, and how do you handle that? And that's how you handle that, through being patient and watching someone else handle it, and learn how to maneuver and dip and swerve, and really how to handle and run your session so that it's smooth, that everyone's happy, and that no one's stressed out. That's all stuff. And like he said, it's just a patience thing. It's just recognizing, like, you know, the biggest thing you can do is get you a good mentor, and look at it like all of us can attest to it. Like, my biggest thing when I came out of school, I wasn't worried about making money or this and that. I was like, I just want to be somewhere where I can learn from people that are doing it, and doing it at a level that I want to do it at. And, you know, if I'm not being paid a dime, I'm all right with that, because I'm getting something extremely valuable in return for the opportunity to just be in the room and watch this guy working on this project that's going to sell 50 million records or something like that. So it's just recognizing what opportunity you have in front of you, and seizing that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was, when I opened up my first home studio in 1998, right? Got here in 2010, and all I wanted to know is how did Corey, D, Leslie, Mike, how did they deal with clients in the room? Was it the same way that I dealt with clients in my space? How did we handle our business here? Because I knew the foundation of recording, right? I just wanted to know how these guys were doing it, how these guys were, you know what I'm saying? If things just really went to hell, what was the protocol? You know what I mean? That's what was important to me. You know what I mean? Basically starting over, being humble, going back to ramen noodle and eggs, you know what I'm saying, every day, and just being patient with it.
Any advice, Vern?
Shit, patience, sit in and train your ears. But I mean, especially when it's people who ask me if they should go to school, like, my first thing is, do you really want to be an engineer, or you just want to learn how to do it just to get by? Because if you don't want to be an engineer, you ain't gonna survive through this. Like, you have to love being an engineer. Like, I've met so many producers who be like, oh yeah, I engineer, da da da, and then by the end of our session, they're like, man, I don't know how the fuck y'all do this. Like, it's so much, like, I don't have the patience for it. And then even going back to, like, what Corey was saying, like, or Corey and Luther, like, when it comes to going to school as well, is like, they don't give you all the answers. And after being around Kurt so many times, I have an analogy for this. It's like, when you go to school, they teach you about the bike. They teach you, like, okay, well, this is the handlebars. You use it to turn the wheel, da 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 da. But what they don't teach you is how to do the wheelies or whatever. Like, you got to go out and watch somebody else do it, and then practice on your own type shit. And that's also even where sitting in comes from. Like, you would hear something that you never thought of and see somebody do it or whatever, or even just train your ears to it. Like, I had this big thing when I was sitting in, where I would hear cool stuff being done, but I didn't want to see how somebody did it, because I wanted to learn how to do it on my own. I don't steal people's whatever, but I train myself to where I have trained myself to where I can hear something, and while I'm hearing it in my mind, I'm already seeing how to do it, type shit, without even seeing it. Just like I was just now telling you that the other day. But yeah, you gotta love being an engineer in order to do this. If you don't love this, you ain't gonna. It's no point even going to school for it. That's my take on it.
Oh yeah.
Any final advice, Kenny?
McDonald's is hiring.
I would say try to figure out what you actually want to do, because like time and time again, like for example, sometimes I get engineers that come to me and go, hey man, just teach me mastering. I just want to know mastering. And then I go, do you know everything about recording? Yeah, I know everything about recording. And I say, well, beyond hitting the red button, do you know how to set the mics up like this, do that? And they go, no, I never heard of that. Do you know everything about all the mixing? Oh yeah, I mix all the time. I mix and master. So I said, well, do you know this XYZ da-da-da? No, I never heard of that. So what I'm getting at is pick one of the jobs. If you want to produce, record, mix, master. Pick one. You can't be Superman and Batman at the same time. So pick one and go at it that 100%. Because if not, especially if you're coming out of school and you're just trying to figure it out, you're going to end up spending so much money trying to figure it out that you damn near kill yourself. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what's kind of driving like the industry now, is that a lot of times, a lot of people think that mixing and mastering are the same things in one sentence. Oh, I mix master. You know what I mean? And I'm not even going to sit here and go, you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's the world. You can't stop the world. But what I'm getting at is they are two totally different processes. And when you get them separated and you hear it for the first time, then you go, oh, shit, I didn't know that. And that goes back to what these guys are saying. Once you learn something, it's an aha moment, because you can do something for years thinking that you were doing it right. But then somebody goes, just try this. Then you go, oh, shit, I didn't know that. So I think my advice would be find out what you want to do. And truth be told, all of them are six-figure jobs. It's just that like TV and social media is not bigging up what everybody does. So you look at it like, I don't want to just be a recording engineer. I don't want to just mix. I don't want to just master. You know what I mean? I don't want to just produce. But all of them are six-figure jobs. So I would just say, yeah, get in it. Learn your acoustics, because you can set up a home studio and do some kick-ass mixes and recordings and stuff, So I would say know the acoustics, weird stuff, understand your power. I know that sounds lame as shit, but like, power, why? Because that's actually the key to the sound of your whole damn song. It's your power supply, Sounds lame, but facts are just facts. So that's why I would say coming out of school, like how Vern just said, they don't teach you everything because they almost can't, but it is like a nice crash course, I just had people that came up, a friend of mine now, but he actually drove here all the way from Texas. And he says, hey man, I went to school for engineering. I went to the mastering classes or whatever. But when we got down and started talking about it, he said, dude, I never heard of any of the shit that you're talking about. And I said, well, that's because it has to be like how Vern said. They just have to show you the handlebars, and the rest of you have to try to figure out, So that would be, I guess my advice is, like I just said, just like these guys are saying, be patient with it, find out what you want to do, and go for that. Yeah.
All super good stuff. I think we're going to leave it off. I think the best thing that people need, the greatest thing that you can do for yourself in this industry is no one's going to give you a job. You have to go and get it. You love it. All you guys love it. You have to go and find it and pursue it. And it's different because when we're growing up, whether you work in grocery stores, whether, paper routes, someone gave you that job and told you what to do, and this is how you do this, how you do this. Where the biggest thing that kids need to realize is you really got to go and just kind of take the bull by the horns and go and do it yourself and set yourself up and go and get it. And you'd be amazed at the things you can accomplish when you start doing something. The best thing to do is you got to go start doing something, and things happen to figure them way out, you know. So it's all really good, awesome stuff. But that's pretty much it for today. Until next time, we'll do the third round, hopefully sooner than later. I want to do the thing where we listen to songs and go over that. I think that would be really awesome.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And, you know, thank you guys again for spending your morning here. We have Kenny Mix, Luther, Corey, Vern. I'm Luke. Thank you, Daniel, for recording this. He's been set it all up, got us going. And until next time, thank you.
Cool.
Boom.
Yep.
Sonically superior.